Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. In our top story, hundreds of thousands of dollars is sitting in government coffers waiting for more than 100 parents to claim them. As a result of the Attorney General's aggressive campaign to hold parents accountable for paying child support, monies were indeed collected, but some of them remain unclaimed. News 2's April Knight has that story.
The Department of Justice is on the hunt for parents who have not claimed their child support monies. On Tuesday, Attorney General Claude Walker said they're holding some $600,000 in unclaimed child support funds that need to be distributed to about 130 custodial parents.
In some instances, it's considerable. I saw something, $5,000, for instance. I mean, that's a decent bit of change. That's a relatively large amount to someone in payments.
The main difficulty in locating these people is the failure to update their records.
The problem that we have is that oftentimes the custodial parent or even the non-custodial parent, they relocate and they don't provide a new address. So the system does continue to collect.
According to Walker, they can work with parents even if they move to the mainland. The active search for parents who need to claim child support money is part of the Attorney General's Operation Support Our Children.
It really has created an awareness that we are very serious about collecting child support. And just the whole, the dialogue has changed where, now the community feels that that they have advocates who are going to hold persons responsible for taking care of their children.
But the other side of that equation is custodial parents letting the government know of changes in address so their children can get access to the fruits of the Justice Department's labors. If the parents do not collect the funds, the monies might eventually go to the government. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
The Justice Department will be releasing a list soon to help locate these custodial parents, according to Attorney General Walker. Count on 2 to keep you updated. District Court Judge Curtis Gomez on February 16 sentenced Taquoy Lee Bryan, 24, of Florida, to 5 months imprisonment and 3 years of supervised release for possession with intent to distribute 4.8 kilos of marijuana. Judge Gomez also ordered Bryan to pay a fine of $1,000, pay a special assessment of $100, and perform 400 hours of community service. On November 12, 2015, Bryan pleaded guilty to possession with intent to distribute marijuana. As part of his plea, Bryan admitted that U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers, with the assistance of a canine, found approximately 4.8 kilos of marijuana in his checked luggage. According to court records, Bryan was arrested on September 26, 2015, when he arrived at the Cyril King Airport on St. Thomas on board a Spirit Airlines flight from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. On Monday, February 15th at 6 p.m., officers met with 2 victims of a first-degree robbery and kidnapping. According to the report, the victims were at the rear of the AJ Market in Petrus Plaza when they were approached by 2 unknown men disguised in female attire. The suspects brandished guns and ordered the victims into the truck they were operating and ordered them to drive towards Sergeant Free on the island's north side. Once they arrived, the assailants took the pair's personal belongings, an unknown amount of cash, and ordered the victims to lie on the ground while they fled the area on foot. Also, a third-degree burglary took place at the Calabash Market located in Coral Bay, St. John at 2:45 p.m. According to the police report, 2 men wearing hooded jackets, masks, and gloves broke into the market and removed an ATM unit containing an unknown amount of cash. The unit was later discovered on a foot trail between Concordia and the Salt Pond with its monies removed. The matter remains under investigation. Finally, on Monday, February 15, the 911 emergency call center received a report of a first-degree robbery, that occurred at the Petrus gas station. On Veterans Drive, responding officers met with the victim, who stated that at 8:15 p.m., while walking in the area of the Emil Griffith Ballpark, he was approached by a man unknown to him who asked for something to eat. The victim agreed to purchase some food for the unknown man, who then brandished a gun at the victim, took an undisclosed amount of cash from him, and then fled the scene on foot. And those are the numbers to call if you have any information that can assist law enforcement. Governor Mapp's financial team came before the Senate Finance Committee on Tuesday, reinforcing the governor's claims that the territory is doing better than a year ago. There were also important updates touching on high-profile topics of the year before, including progress on the operations of the buyers of the Hovenza facility. NEWS2's April Knight has details.
On top of a projected revenue surplus for 2016 and an increase in cash on hand from the year before, the administration's financial team also gave updates Tuesday on the Limetree Bay operations, real property auctions, and tax refunds. The $220 million in cash out of the ArcLight deal is almost all spent, with only $35 million left unexpended or uncommitted. According to the administration, Limetree is making rapid progress at the old Hovenza site, exceeding expectations in the amount of oil that they plan to bring in for storage and the size of their workforce. Instead of bringing in 13 million barrels of oil in the first year, Limetree is planning to bring in 27 million barrels. And instead of the projected 200 employees, so far the company has hired 279, a number expected to rise even more, and 96% of them are Virgin Islanders. Meanwhile, the Lieutenant Governor's office is also starting a new round of real property auctions under close watch after the rigged bidding scheme that racked the 2012 auctions.
The auction process has already been vetted in terms of new procedures. We're trying to clean up what was left of the old process.
And while the governor has repeatedly touted his progress on sending out tax refunds, some lawmakers say they're still getting calls from taxpayers who have not gotten theirs.
They should be checking the mail right now. Right?
For the fiscal year, you've only paid about $39 million.
That is correct, sir.
And how many more you have to go?
Well, as I continue to indicate, that is a moving target because we process tax returns every day. That's what we do at the Bureau. We have budgeted some $85 million to pay out for this fiscal year.
Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
According to BIR Director Marvin Pickering, those waiting for their refunds should be checking their mailboxes soon. Some $4 million more in refunds were recently released. Well, the BVI government looking overseas, they held a grand opening of the Tortola Pier Park earlier this evening. That opening was originally scheduled for December 22nd, 2015. The pier that opened in Road Town will cost about $82.9 million. It includes marine side development, land side development, and administrative costs. Officials say funding will come from CIBC, First Caribbean, BVI Ports Authority, BVI government, the Social Security Board, and the public. Many attended and enjoyed the food, music, and activities. The territory has been graced by a few new ships making inaugural calls to the port of Road Town in the cruise season so far. On November 20th, the Queen Mary II berthed at the new pier for the very first time. Consistent with a presidential order pertaining to the flag of the United States Virgin Islands, Governor Kenneth Mapp has ordered that the flag of the United States Virgin Islands be flown at half-staff as a mark of respect for Antonin Scalia, Associate Justice of the United States. The order, which applies to all public properties of the territory, will remain in effect until sunset on the day of interment. Justice Scalia died on Saturday, February 13, 2016, during a visit to Western Texas. And turn our attention to politics. We're 4 days away from the South Carolina Republican primary, and the rhetoric among all of the candidates on the campaign trail is heating up. South Carolina is known for its gritty politics, and the 2016 Republican primary is no exception. All of the Republican candidates are all ramping up their war of words, with Trump now threatening a lawsuit over Cruz's Canadian birth and his eligibility to be president. Also on the campaign trail, Jeb Bush is using his famous brother to continue the Bush winning streak in South Carolina. Music's biggest night took place in Los Angeles Monday as the 58th Grammy Awards were handed out. Most of the awards, all but 8 of the night's 83, were announced before the telecast, leaving more time for some memorable performances. David Daniel has a look.
If anyone nodded off during the 3.5-hour Grammy telecast, Kendrick Lamar surely woke them up. The To Pimp a Butterfly rapper gave an arresting performance and walked away with 5 Grammys, tops for the night. Before Lamar hit the stage, the Grammy-winning cast of Hamilton got the LA crowd ready to rap and roll long distance from Broadway. Some of the most memorable performances were tributes to fallen stars, an all-star guitar jam for B.B. King, Jackson Browne and the Eagles honoring Glenn Frey, and Lady Gaga's heavily hyped performance channeling David Bowie. Music Care's honoree Lionel Richie joined his own musical tribute. There was plenty of emotion from the night's big winners. Meghan Trainor cried, so did her father when she won Best New Artist, and Alabama Shakes was all shook up after taking a trio of trophies.
I tell you, my heart is beating a mile a minute.
Taylor Swift, who opened the show, was a triple winner and the first woman to win Album of the Year a second time. And the evening's final award, Record of the Year, went to the most inescapable song of 2015, Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars' Uptown Funk.
We wouldn't be up here if it wasn't for the people dancing in this song.
A fitting end to a show that had people dancing. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Taylor Swift joins an impressive group of performers again as the only artist to win Album of the Year multiple times. Frank Sinatra, Stevie Wonder, Paul Simon, and U2. Well, in some sad entertainment news, Denise Matthews, also known as Vanity, fronted the group Vanity 6, but was best known for her collaboration with Prince. We now learned that she has died at a hospital in Fremont, California. Vanity toured with Prince in the 1980s before leaving her wild persona for a life as a minister. Her death was confirmed by Gisela Hernandez, spokeswoman for Washington Hospital Healthcare System. Hernandez did not say when Matthews died or under what circumstances. She was 57 years old, according to her biography on the Internet Movie Database. Keeping our eye on the economy, let's take a look at the stock market watch at the New York Stock Exchange. According to the numbers there, we can see everything's up. The Dow, 222, NASDAQ, 98, S&P 500, 30. Coming up on News 2, much more straight ahead, our Black History quiz. She created specialized hair products for African-American hair and was one of the first African-American women to become a self-made millionaire. Who are we talking about? Take a guess. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We remember Sarah Breedlove, known as Madam C.J. Walker, in our Black History moment. She was born on December 23, 1867, on a cotton plantation near Delta, Louisiana. Her parents, Owen and Minerva, were recently freed slaves. Walker was an African-American entrepreneur and philanthropist, regarded as the first female self-made millionaire in America. After suffering from a scalp ailment that resulted in her own hair loss, she invented a line of African-American hair care products in 1905. Under the company she founded, the Madam C.J. Walker Manufacturing Company. In 1910, Walker moved to Indianapolis, where she established her headquarters and built that factory. She began to teach and train other black women in order to help them build their own businesses. She promoted her products by traveling around the country, giving lecture demonstrations. After the East St. Louis race riot, she joined leaders of the NAACP in their efforts. Madam Walker was inducted into the Junior Achievement U.S. Business Hall of Fame, the National Women's Hall of Fame in Seneca Falls, New York, and the National Cosmetology Hall, to name a few. St. Thomas St. John Chamber of Commerce is strongly opposing the proposed increase in excise taxes on cigarettes and cigars, referring to the legislation as another blow to an already beleaguered retail business community. Bill 31-0023, sponsored by Senator Samuel Sanes, calls for an increase in excise tax from 35 to 45% on the value of each carton of cigarettes imported into the Virgin Islands for resale. The Senate Rules and Judiciary Committee approved that measure on February 9th, with all but one member of the committee voting for it. The Chamber Board position is that even prior to the recent increase in excise taxes, cigarette taxes had already passed the tipping point, taking into consideration the 35% excise tax, the 5% gross tax at the wholesale level, and the 5% gross receipts tax at the retail level. According to Chamber President Sebastiano Paiwanski-Casanelli, the legislation will do more harm to the sale of tobacco products than assist the Virgin Islands government with a purported $435,000 in increased taxes. The tobacco category is very price sensitive, he says. Regional competition is intense, and tourists have shopping choices and will make purchase in the lowest cost jurisdiction. We'll have more on that. Schneider Regional Medical Center CEO Bernard A. Wheatley has been named to Beckers Hospital Review's 2016 list of 50 rural hospital CEOs to know. It's published by the Leading for News. The article acknowledges that although massive healthcare systems like Mayo Clinic or Johns Hopkins may be household names, many Americans live in small, rural communities and rely on lesser-known hospitals for high-quality health care. The list includes leaders from across the United States, including CEOs and administrators of hospitals. The review editorial team selected leaders through a review process where a number of factors were considered, including awards received, local, regional, and national leadership positions held, and their organization's recent performance. Cancer Support VI, sponsored by International Capital and Management Company, they're announcing their next free lecture presented by Sharon Day, Director of Nutrition from Cancer Treatment Centers of America in Goodyear, Arizona. She will present a beautiful menu featuring quinoa and kale and discuss the potential therapeutic benefits of the fresh ingredients. The mission of Cancer Support VI is to provide support, education, information, and assistance to people living with cancer and their families and friends. This free lecture again and cooking demo will be held 12 noon to 1 p.m. on Wednesday, March 2nd at Oceana Restaurant in Frenchtown. Speaking of food preparation, last week Saturday, St. Peter and Paul School held their International Night in the schoolyard. Some students and families enjoyed an evening of fun while learning about the over 25 different nationalities represented in the school community. Parents brought delicious meals to share to create an international dinner representing the many different cultures. They say the event was held to celebrate family and the diversity of our community. The theme was the melting pot of the Virgin Islands. Congratulations to my daughter Yasmin McGrath, her team, Michelle, and great job to all the students at St. Peter and Paul. They stayed in a tent in the Masada Desert and hiked to the top of the plateau for sunrise and tour of ruins that date back to the 1st century BC. They swam in the Dead Sea. We're talking about 6 Peter Gruber International Academy students. They embarked on an incredible journey across the world to attend a 3-day science program at the Weizmann Institute of Science in Rehovot, Israel, just south of Tel Aviv. It's one of the world's leading multidisciplinary research institutions in the natural and exact sciences. The Peter Gruber International Academy has been collaborating with the Weizmann Institute online for the past several years as part of the school's end-session STEM program. The American Red Cross of the Virgin Islands will visit Hannah's Rest this Saturday, February 20th, as part of their continued home fire preparedness campaign. For this installation visit, the St. Croix office calls on civic groups, organizations, and individuals who want to collaborate in the organization's effort to prevent future home fires. Some of the tasks that volunteers can help with are installing some smoke detectors, log detail information for record keeping of homes visited, and give the homeowner preparedness information about home evacuation route in time of emergency. People and organizations interested in participating in this event, You can call the St. Croix office at 340-778-5104 for further information. Now, let's end this block on a lovely note. If you don't believe in true love, you would have if you were in Love City this past weekend. You would think differently. Dozens of couples decided to work on a fresh start on Love City at Trunk Bay for the annual celebration of love. Vow renewal ceremony was held on Sunday, Valentine's Day. Many couples held hands and renewed their vows, their marriage vows. St. John's Barefoot Minister Anne Marie Porter, she said some return year after year, and the ceremony has grown, drawing new couples. Over 1,230 couples have participated in the past 13 years, 14 years. All were welcome. No pre-registration. They were just asked to show up together, hand in hand. We'll be sure to stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.